Well, once again, we come to you from the Post Chicken and Beer in downtown Boulder. Mother Nature showed up. We've got a little wintry weather here on the Front Range right now. Sounds like it's going to be a nice day on Saturday, though, for the Buffaloes as they're back home for homecoming to entertain the Sun Devils of Arizona State. Although Mike Sanford might like a little snow for those guys from the desert coming up here on Saturday. Buffs coming off a loss at Oregon State last week. And, again, a 5:30 kickoff. Gary and I are going to hit the air 3:30. Out on Franklin Field with the pregame show, and then 5:30, the Buffs and the Sun Devils. Coming up, by the way, Jeff Smart's going to join us, former Buff linebackers coach. He was a good one for Colorado, and also Josh Chandler Semito is going to join us for the players segment as well. Wouldn't it be nice to have a little cold weather for those guys in the desert?
I'll tell you what, I've been reminding the team this whole week about the current temperature in Tempe, Arizona. So we've practiced in, I think it's been anywhere between 28 and 38 degrees during our morning practice sessions. And I've looked at my watch a couple times and asked Siri what the temperature is currently. And I've given our players an update of, hey, it's 79 degrees when Arizona State's going to be practicing today. So, we're excited for this opportunity to get back to Folsom Field, and really good week of practice. Great response from our players. Sunday was about a lot of hard conversations about, our execution. The margin of error is so small. We need to execute in those critical moments. And I have all the belief in the world that we're going to continue to grow through some of those execution growing pains.
Is that one of the hardest things to get a team to understand? Because and fans hear this and sometimes they roll their eyes. But being in the business for a long time, you sit down with a coach and you go through and what they look at in the film, and you think, boy, there was a small hiccup there, or there was a mistake here, those kind of things. How narrow that margin for victory is, if you will, for really any college football team.
And I do think it's exacerbated by youth. And I think that's not an easy thing to become a fifth-year senior overnight if you're a true freshman playing, or if you're a second-year player playing. And that's who we are right now. But what I reminded, particularly the offense this week, I had a moment to spend with them as a unit, is that, we're not freshmen anymore. We're going into our, the final stretch of our first season. And so it's a choice that you make every day when you come to practice, and then on game day to realize that you've gone through your tough times, you've gone through your growing pains, and it's that time to put it all together. And I have the confidence that we're going to do that because of how we prepared this week.
A number of years ago, Philip Lindsay and I had a great conversation about that one time, about that switch that flips for a player. You walk in as a freshman, you show up, you play, right? I mean, that's what you do. You're a pretty talented guy, you show up, you play. And Phil talked about, by the time he was an upperclassman, understood the idea of detail, caring for your body, all the external things that affect your game day, and that idea of becoming a pro, and handling yourself like a professional. Is that one of the harder things to teach a young team, because you don't have a lot of guys up top there that can mimic that for everybody?
You do, and we do have some vets that Brady Russell, Terrence Lang. These are players that have gone through that growth, and so just pointing to them, to our team, just to see where they're at in their mental and physical development, and just realize the importance of that. Everything you do does matter. Every piece of your preparation, how you hydrate, how you recover, how you sleep, and those are things that we as a program are talking about. I'm talking about ad nauseum to get to the point where they understand just the importance of that as you prepare to go play a football game. And I feel like we've really grown in that area over the last 3 weeks. I think our bodies were in a really good spot to go play well at Oregon State. We did some things differently that I think helped us. Ultimately, sometimes those things don't show up in the final box score, but then when you do watch the film, you can point to those 7-8 plays where it's truly just a matter of concentration and mental intensity, and that's really what we're pointing to.
You talk about hard conversations on a Sunday. To take us through so fans understand, win or lose, what is a Sunday like for Mike Sanford and the Buffaloes after a game?
We call it Assessment Sunday.
Okay.
So no matter what happens, win or loss, that there's going to be new data that presents itself from the day before.
Okay.
And regardless of win or loss, you have to look at that as a player as data. And in a win, there's going to be some times where you have to point to things that will catch up to you. And I think there were examples even from the Cal game where we're pointing to things that if we continue to make these mistakes, we won't have the opportunity to win a football game. And I think that showed up in the Oregon State game. And once again, it's just that growth through that. And then in a loss, we go through Sunday, we assess that data. We don't let that data fully define us, but it's all part of our growing process. And on Sunday, I put up a slide of something that's become very important to me, of a 5-step process. Is when you do fail, that's the first step of the process. You fail, you learn, you grow, and then you respond. And then the last one is you implement to your game going forward. And I think that's a process to understand that this data has to be used in a way that doesn't allow you to get down on yourself or get down on the team and where we stand.
Yeah, there's an old line that says, "I never fail. I either win or I learn."
Yep.
Right.
Absolutely.
And that's kind of what you're trying to get through these guys.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So do you mean is it a whole team in the auditorium, or is it the individual positions, or how does that work?
We start out, we grade the film. By the time we get in there as a staff, the film's graded at noon, every aspect of it. And then really, at 1:30 we have a staff meeting where we go over the details by position. 2:30 we have a team meeting, and that's where a lot of I think the big picture growth happens. Okay. Just about, explaining the opportunities that we had. For example, there were three turnovers and really one turnover on downs that happened on the plus side of Oregon State's field. And if those are points for us, that's a 28-point swing. Right. And I'm not to say that every single time you cross the 50-yard line that you're going to get 7, but those are opportunities that we didn't take advantage of. Right. And you saw the final score and the outcome of the game. So just to give them the why, and then point to those as we continue to prep throughout the week. And then it goes from a team meeting into a unit meeting, offense, defense, and special teams, and then it goes into the position meeting. So it's all really kind of whole.
JT Shrout gets a start in that ball game. Maybe mixed results. I'll let you define that. But by the time it was all said and done, 13 of 29 passing, 206 yards. Had a couple of interceptions, was sacked one time. What was your evaluation of the quarterback?
I think he played good football, as the game went on. We've got to, as an offense, we have to start faster. We had opportunities, even going into half, to make it really a 2-score ball game, 21-10. We're on the plus side of the field, and we have to take advantage of the opportunities that we get, particularly throwing and catching the football in those moments. And, I think he did respond. He made some wild throws. You saw that. And I'm just looking forward to seeing him come off of some adversity and get another opportunity this week to start a football game. So he's going to start again this week, and I have the full confidence for him. He's had a lot of adversity in his career. It hasn't been all sunshines and rainbows throughout his career. And one thing I wanted him to know is that we believe in him, we trust in him, and we're going to see him to the point of success, which I believe is going to be on Saturday. What
you say JT will start this week? How's Owen coming along?
He's coming along. There is progress that's being made. I think it's just one of those deals where when you have a true freshman quarterback, you're going into a pretty an arduous task of our remaining 5 ball games. You want him, if he's going to start the game, you want him to be at his absolute best. I mean, we said it earlier in the year. He was 167, 172 pounds, and you have to be at your best physically to be able to get that very dynamic athlete that's in there to fully come out at that really that stage of development.
And Mike, at this point, and I thought I'd ask this because this morning I'm sitting here going over some numbers and looking at some different things. He's played 4 games, and you're getting in the back half of the schedule. At some point, do you and his father, somebody say, well, if he's not healthy, do you look at a redshirt in his situation?
I think we take it week by week. I think it's important. But I also think that we have to look at it, when I was given this assignment, I said that this thing's going to all be about the betterment of these players and this program. And so we have to make those types of determinations, those decisions about what's best for the player, what's best for the program. And those are conversations that we're always going to have. Right. We're not going to hide from difficult conversations, but we're also going to look out for those 2 main interests, is looking at each individual student athlete in their development, what's best for them, and then ultimately what's best for CU football.
So a couple of weeks ago, you guys shuffled the offensive line a little bit. Have you seen progress the last couple of weeks?
We have. I think that was actually our best game protection-wise against a really good front. You didn't have a lot of those, kind of big hits that have come, and even in the Cal game, which really led Owen to being in the position that he's at physically right now. And I think just solidifying who those 5 starters are, and then understanding where our rotational help comes from. Van Wells is trending in a good direction as well on the injury front. Was full go yesterday and today. So Austin Johnson, I thought, really filled in admirably, down the stretch in that fourth quarter, against Oregon State.
Van Wells is an intriguing talent up there at center.
Very.
And Coach Barnett a couple times in broadcast said, man, that cat's got it. When you look for a center, what do you look for? And obviously he's got a lot of those qualities.
Well, first off, I want that that person, that character to be somebody that's a leader, that galvanizes the five. And he's got that personality. He's a bright light, and is who he is as a person. But then I love a guy that's just very athletic. Can pick him up and get him down. He's got great footwork, gets up to the second level, and then to do it as a true freshman is so rare.
Yes.
And not just to do it, but really to grade out as probably one of the better linemen, if not the best lineman through his starts, is incredibly impressive. He's a player that when I first saw him in his first week or two of training camp, I looked at Kyle DeVan and I told him, I was like, man, this guy's an NFL center. Wow. There's no doubt in my mind.
Wow. Did you put a lot on him mentally in that position?
We do. And Kyle DeVan, himself being a former center and an NFL center, started in a Super Bowl, albeit at guard in that particular instance. But having played in that position, he takes a lot of pride in that position. And when it's not right, man, he goes in the depths of despair. So for him, it's been really fun to see the development, the relationship between Bam and we call him Bam, between Bam and Coach DeVan.
Well, the Buffaloes will entertain for homecoming the Arizona State Sun Devils on Sunday. Our program here today, Buffs Primetime, is brought to you by the Hilton's on Canyon. Are you coming to Boulder for the game? We'll stay at the Hilton's on Canyon, the official hotel of Colorado Athletics. Jeff Smart, Josh Chandler-Samito still to come. One more segment here at the Post Chicken and Beer with Mike Sanford after another timeout. This is Colorado football from Learfield. Hey, today's Coaches Show brought to you by the Post Chicken and Beer with 7 Colorado Front Range locations. The Post brews delicious, award-winning beers and fries up the crispiest, juiciest hot chicken around. Fried chicken and beer go together like black and gold football talk. Stop by the Post for all your game time provisions. And for next week's show, we'll be out here going live to tape from 12:30 to 1:30 on Thursday afternoon. And then the show always airs on the network, on the radio network. So you listen on the Varsity, I can get all the details here, on the Varsity Network app and on the radio network around the state from 7 until 8 on our flagship, 850 KOA in Denver from 8 till 9. So I think you can keep all that.
Got it.
Yeah, there you go. Go to the Varsity Network app. It's right there. So the next day you could listen to Mike's show. It's all right there afterward. We continue with the head coach of the Buffaloes, Jeff Smart, still to come. Josh Chandler-Samito is going to join us as well. Jeff's an interesting guy. He was a great player here. You think very highly of him, don't you?
I think the world of him.
Yeah.
His care factor for our players is through the roof. Yeah. He's served in so many different capacities in his coaching career. The thing that I've always respected about him, in addition to how he cares for our players, is his intellect. Probably one of the most appropriately named people that I know. He truly is Jeff Smart.
Yeah.
And I think the world of his football intellect. He and Gerald Chapman have worked so closely together in putting this defense together. And, we're not going to say too much, but I'm pretty excited about the package that we're going to roll out there on Saturday.
Looking forward to it. All right, so let's start talking about Arizona State. They've gone through a little bit of a similar path that we have here in Boulder, right? I mean, they had a coaching change and got a couple of wins this season. So let's start the offensive side. It sounds like there's going to be a lot of newness they have out there, at least according to what the coach is saying in his press conference.
Yeah, it sounds like the interim head coach at ASU hit Control-Alt-Delete on the entire operation offensively and hard reboot of the system. So it's going to be interesting to see what they roll out. I will say that there was some good opportunities to go back and watch some high school film. This is a head coach that was an offensive coordinator at the high school level at Chandler High School and then a head coach there for 8 years. So 18 combined years is really his experience that predated his time, at the college level. Yeah. You got to think if somebody's called plays for 18 years, they're most likely going to go back to what
you'd think so.
What they've done and what is familiar to them. Because calling plays on the sideline can be challenging, particularly if it's foreign to you. I think that what's going to be very unique is if he does take this over completely is. Number one, is it going to mirror exactly what he did at Chandler High School? We don't know that. We'll find out on Saturday. And number two, the investment level of everybody else on that coaching staff.
Right.
Because they've been putting together and working together as a staff to put forth a game plan. So in terms of the eyes in the box, how, they don't know the why of all the system in 4 days.
Yeah.
Because that's ultimately what you have. You have Tuesday, Wednesday, and then Thursday's typically a walkthrough, and Friday's a short practice. So you have really 2 days truly to go run an offense at full speed. So, Anticipate seeing spread concepts, maybe some tempo, up tempo offense. But it sounds like the players are having to learn, new verbiage, terminology, signals. So it's going to be really interesting. We expect them to throw the football a lot, and looking forward to seeing what Boulder and the Front Range brings in terms of weather for all that.
Okay, now I understand when you want to go back and look at, if somebody wanted to scout University of Colorado, may go back and look at Minnesota tape, right, where you've been. How do you go and find a bunch of high school tape?
The great thing about it is we evaluate high school tape all the time.
Okay.
So we subscribe to a website called Huddle, and they have their own coaches software called Recruit.co. So when I read the press clippings, I logged on to Recruit.co, and
it goes back that far. Where you can go find stuff?
You can go back, I think, all the way to 2012.
Is that right?
I started with his last year there and started with the state championship game, and then myself, I've been working through a little bit just to see what they do, so I can offer any assistance that I can to the defensive staff, just to kind of give the vision of what I think the play caller is wanting to do. So that's exactly what we did. Right. I woke up on Tuesday morning. Didn't expect by 5:00 p.m. I'd be watching 2018 Chandler versus Hamilton high school football tape.
I'll be dang. With one of our classroom segments with Gary Barnett, we had a question here a few weeks ago about implementing new plays. And I think a lot of times people think you just draw them up in the dirt and say, okay, fellas, go and do it. Gary was talking about how long it actually takes when you want to implement something new. There's a long process that you have to go through, because not only is it the verbiage, but everyone's got to learn their assignment, and it's got to become second nature. Mm-hmm. Talk to that process and how you do that.
Yeah, I mean, for me, if you're going to hit the reboot, button in the middle of a season, it's got to be simple. Yeah. I mean, that's the bottom line, is there has to be some form of simplicity for it to be effective, because players are, we train them over the course of spring ball and fall camp to obviously memorize these plays, and so it becomes second nature to them. So that'll be what's interesting about this. Is it truly a hard reboot? Is it just taking the things that he liked in the system, keeping the system the same? But even hearing from some of their skill players, it sounds like it's the signals and the tempo operations brand new. So we're gonna be ready for that. We have to prepare for everything, and our defensive staff has done a really good job in being prepared for it.
He was very open this week, I thought, talking about their quarterback situation. Emory Jones is the guy that had been starting. And got a question how he'd been playing. Trenton Bourget, much smaller player, as a backup. You don't know who they're going to start a quarterback this week.
No idea. Reading between the lines in the press clippings from Sunday and Monday, it sounds like it's probably going to be Bourget. Emory Jones, a player that I've personally known. I recruited him when I was the offensive coordinator and quarterback coach at Notre Dame, and went down to his high school. Just a terrific player, just a fine young man. I think he's, you got to remember that with these, firing a head coach who brought him here, playing for an interim head coach, an offensive change, an offensive philosophy switch. That's a lot for a quarterback to go through. He's a terrific talent, and it'll be interesting to see who starts. I'm anticipating that Bourget will, but we'll see. Obviously the first snap at Folsom Field.
All right. How about ASU defensively?
They run a consistent scheme that you'll see throughout the course of the year. We haven't seen a lot of change even post-Herm Edwards. Mm-hmm. They do have some great resources on their staff. Marvin Lewis is a special advisor. Yeah. He's obviously a terrific defensive mind, and then Brian Billick is an offensive mind. So it's going to be interesting to see if they have much input, if any, with regards to what they're doing. Their defense coordinator does a nice job. He's a longtime NFL coach, and so we anticipate seeing a lot of man-to-man coverage. But we've gone into games thinking that we're going to see predominantly man coverage, and all of a sudden, here comes a bunch of zones. So once again, we're preparing for both looks, pressure. We've seen an uptick in pressure especially when we're starting a true freshman quarterback. So we've just continue to prepare our guys for a multitude of looks so that we can go out there and react to whatever they do bring.
Well, one thing I want to ask you about, and we saw a little bit in the game last week with Oregon State, and you talked about on Tuesday in your press conference, the issue with drops this season. Mm-hmm. Mike, how do you help receivers get through that? Because, there was a couple that were, inside the 30-yard line, could have been big plays for Colorado, and really momentum-killing plays. What do you do with your guys when that becomes an issue? Like
Number one, you have to instill confidence because there's not a lot of the external that's going to build up the confidence of players that are going through a hard time. Number two, you got to focus on extra work catching the football. We've moved to anytime there's a special teams period and you're not intimately involved with those special teams units, you're catching 100 balls. After practice, here's another 250 balls that you're going to catch. So we've been very meticulous with our approach to catching more balls because ultimately training anything, the more you do it, the more confidence that you attain. And then secondarily, we got to put the players in positions that have caught the football with most consistency. Yeah. And that's just at the end of the day, this is a bottom line industry, and we got to continue to put those guys in those positions.
You put the call out to Buffs fans on Tuesday at your press conference because the atmosphere, as we well remember a couple of weeks ago for the Cal game, was spectacular. I mean, it really was an electric atmosphere, and under the circumstances, how great that speaks to Buff Nation out there. And you're kind of looking for the same thing on Saturday.
I am, and I don't want to just put it on the fans. Hey, put out a statement in the media and just say, hey, you better show up. I mean, I know that there's a lot of things to do in Colorado. Ski season's opening up. I wouldn't second guess that myself. As a snowboarder, but I also wanted to actually put boots on the ground and get around campus, talk to some groups on campus. And
how many sororities and fraternities have you been to this week?
So there've been 3 fraternities and 1 sorority.
Okay.
The sorority was the Pi Phi house because that's my mom is a Pi Phi alum herself. Right. So she every time she sees that, she gets so excited. And I definitely informed that group of young women that my mom's a Pi Phi. So, nice. But in addition to that, we've had a couple courses that are on CU football and selling in the business school. Okay. CU football to a prospective recruit. Had 2 entire lecture halls come over to our facility, go to practice.
Wow.
And just those, I think that sometimes we forget as college football coaches that we're actually at a college, at a university.
Yes.
And I think just having that as much of a relationship that we can have as a program, myself, speaking to those, those different entities, I think it does create more of an investment and buy-in for all of us, knowing that they feel like we're invested in them and they too return the favor and be invested in us.
Nice. And we know that Buff Nation always responds. We expect a great crowd on Saturday for a 5:30 kickoff between the Buffs and Arizona State. Coach, good luck this weekend.
Appreciate it, Mark. Thank you very much.
Head coach Mike Sanford here. The Buffs have got ASU in town. We'll take a time out our assistant segment. Former Buff player and now assistant coach Jeff Smart is going to join us, and then our player segment, Josh Chandler-Samito. We're here at the Post, Chicken and Beer in downtown Boulder. Back in a moment. This is Colorado football from Learfield. Hey, Buffs fans, looking for a place to cheer on the Buffaloes? Join the entire Buff Nation at the official CU Watch Party locations in Colorado, Schoolhouse in Arvada, Blake Street Tavern in Denver. As we come back on Buffs Prime Time here at the Post Chicken and Beer. Every Thursday we're out here from 12:30 to 1:30, going live. The tape show airs later on that night on the network. Time for our assistant segment. I was just saying to Jeff Smart, linebackers coach for the Buffaloes, I said, you're getting old when the guys you called their games when you first got here are now sitting as a coach in the other chair. Holy cow, how'd that happen, huh?
Well, it's just time, right?
Yeah, I guess so.
Yeah.
I got here in 04. You showed up in 05.
That's right.
Redshirted.
Yep.
First season, 6, 7, 8, and 9. There were your 4 years playing for the Buffaloes.
Yeah, that's right.
And so I'll let you answer this on the air. I said, did you ever think about being a coach when you were back here playing back in the day?
Yeah, no, it was funny. I really didn't, playing ball, but like the coaching side of it, I was really like, I don't know if that's for me. And then it was Coach Cabral who coached me as a player. And he was just on me probably really since my junior year. He was just on me like, hey, you should think about getting into coaching. You should get into coaching. And I was always just kind of like, nah, I don't know about that. And then, after I graduated, was just, in the real world trying to figure it out. And he called me after that season and was like, hey, would you want to come back and be a GA? And I was like, yeah, all right, sure.
And here you are.
And here I am, yeah.
I think the hardest part for players is you see what those coaches do. You see the time, the commitment, what they have to do.
Yep.
And as a 20, 21-year-old, you're thinking, no way do I want to be doing that.
Yeah, that was really it for me. I was like, God, I don't know if that's what I want to be doing because there is a huge investment from time and there's a huge sacrifice you make personally and for your family and friends and everything else that you want to do. It is a huge commitment.
Brian Cabral, goes without saying, is a Colorado legend.
Oh, yeah.
Right? And you had a chance to play. What is it about him as a player that's resonated with generations of players here at CU?
Oh, just his care factor. I think that'd be the number one thing. He absolutely legitimately cares for his players, probably more than most coaches I've been around. You know, and constantly trying to do whatever's best for them and pushing all the right buttons to make them or help them be as good as they can possibly be. You know, that's what strikes me for Coach Cabral.
He's kind of a paradox because, as you well know, when he played, he was a tough son of a gun.
Yeah.
I mean, a mean, tough guy in the football field, and yet he'll cry at the drop of a hat. Right?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it's this odd little combination. He's just the nicest man you'll ever meet. You're thinking, how are you so mean on the football field? Because you're so darn nice all the time.
Well, we used to joke as players when we were playing with him or playing for him. You know, he'll laugh, cry, and yell in the same speech. In a matter of minutes.
Yeah. Fantastic. Have you taken stuff from him that you try to utilize in your coaching style?
I mean, a ton. There's a ton. I mean, I can't name all the things, but like. Some of my favorites are just like little sayings that he used to have, you know, and I've always used those in my career as a coach. And you know the players are listening to you and it's resonating with them when they start like impersonating you and mimicking you.
Sure, yes.
Some of those little sayings, they start like they almost making fun of you. Like that's when you know. I mean, I don't know. Just brings a smile to my face because we used to do the same thing when we were playing. You know,
sure, you
did.
Yeah.
Just his little sayings, you know.
Exactly right.
I mean, it's like a running joke.
So how did you end up at Colorado? How did you end up a Buffs football player?
That's it. I mean,
it was Gary's staff, obviously recruited.
Yeah. Gary was the guy who recruited me, and so basically the short of the long of it is I had some opportunities to go to some smaller schools as like a scholarship guy. Yeah. And there was a couple other walk-on opportunities, and ultimately it was actually one of my really close friends in high school. His older brother, you may remember, Drew Shader.
Yes.
Was like an All-American in high school. Could have gone anywhere in the country. Went to Colorado. Played a little bit, but then had shoulder surgeries and ended his career. Mm-hmm. And he kind of told me, he's like, look, like you got to go somewhere where you like all the other things outside of football too, you know, because you never know when football's going to end, you know, and it could end after practice one or it could end after a 4 or 5 year career. So, you know, I really kind of thought about that and the time commitment and the you know that it takes to play major college football if you want to be good. And I don't know. It just kind of came to me. I was like, why would I leave and go to, you know, like Iowa State was maybe one of the schools and some of these other places where I could come here, love the university, love the town, close to family. You know, they gave me a preferred walk-on spot. Mm-hmm. So it just kind of made sense to me. I was like, well, why would I go somewhere else? And I knew. And the other thing too is like I wanted to play at this level. Yeah. That's what I wanted to do. And so. That was kind of it. Okay,
put on your coaching hat now. Mm-hmm. Give us an evaluation the last couple of weeks here as you've been coaching these linebackers, how that group is doing for you.
Quite honestly, they're doing great. You know, and hats off to them as they've, you know, all the changes that have happened, like that's always hard. You know, it's hard for coaches, it's hard for players, and you're never quite sure. I've been a part of this actually a couple times in my career. You're never quite sure how they're going to respond. You know, are they going to be questioning everything that you're trying to do, the changes? You know, are they going to wait to see the results before they believe, or are they going to jump in with 2 feet and believe in you as a coach, believe in Coach Sanford as the head coach, believe in Coach Chapman as the coordinator, and that's what they did. So all the adjustments, all the changes that we've made, you know, they've fully embraced it, and they jumped in with 2 feet and just took off running. And they've now, after doing that, they've seen the success that we have had. Now, obviously, last week was a tough one, but the players believe in what we're doing, and I believe in what Coach Chapman is doing and what Coach Sanford is doing. And, you know, I think that just kind of resonates down throughout the team.
So how does it work with you and Coach Smith? I mean, in terms of linebacker, how the duties divvied up there?
Yeah, well, we're just kind of tag teaming it. You know, like we've kind of added a new position in our defense and have moved some players into different spots, you know, where they can be more successful. So anyway, we're, you know, and Coach Smith and myself, previously, we're both working with inside linebackers, but I've coached outside linebackers. I've coached nickels. Coach Smith has coached safeties in the past, so we're pretty versatile in that regard. And so we're basically just kind of fitting in where needed, if you will, based on the scheme.
Josh Chandler-Samito is going to join us here in a couple of minutes. He's been a very nice addition this year coming through the transfer portal.
Yes, he has. Yep. Yes, he has. I mean, we're super fortunate to have Josh, and you know, obviously he's playing really well. But you know, and I tell the guys all the time, you know, and it's been I don't know if it's been more evident, but to me it's been more evident here in the last couple of weeks is that and credit to Josh, like he is a very talented player, but he doesn't make the plays that he makes based on talent alone. Like the guy prepares as best, if not better, than any other player I've been around. You know, he's better. He prepared better than me. And again, like I had some success as a player, not so much because I was bigger and faster than everybody, right? But I knew what the offense was going to do. I knew what my assignment was going to do, or what it was. And so that's kind of how I was able to make all the plays. But Josh, I mean, shoot, you should see his tip sheets that he gets throughout the week, and the notes that he takes, and the studying that he does, and the time that he puts in. To be able to make those plays, and I showed the guys. You know, there were several plays, but there was one in particular 2 weeks against Cal. It was either a third or fourth and 1 or 2, and they got into a formation that, if you studied, like you knew exactly which play they were going to run, and he did that. And it wasn't a blitz. It wasn't a pressure call by us. We were just in basically a base defensive call. And on the snap, I mean, he took off and hit this thing in the backfield because he knew exactly what play it was going to be. And and I showed that to the guys. Like this is what knowing what play is coming before it comes looks like.
Yeah.
And I mean, and that's what he does every single week. So
well, what that illustrates, Jeff, is there's got to be a baseline, of physical giftings that you have to be a player.
Yep.
But you can make yourself into a player by what's happening up here.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah, the mental preparation, too, right?
100%. You know, Coach McCartney always used to say the mental is to physical is 4 to 1.
Yeah.
And I kind of echo that to my players, but I really, I think that's what allowed me to have some success as a player. And you're absolutely right. I mean, if you take that mental approach, and know what your assignment is, know what the offense is doing, it gives you confidence, and confidence allows you to play fast and make plays.
Yeah. So there's some young, exciting guys in this linebacking core you've got. Aubrey Smith is one that I think of all the time, that he flashes.
Yes, he does.
Out there. Some exciting guys you got in your group.
Yes. Yeah. Aubrey's a special player, and he is a true freshman. So there's a learning curve there, but he absolutely has shown some flashes of the player that he's going to be. I mean, and there's no doubt. And quite honestly, he might be the best player in the room right now. And he just needs to continue to develop, not only physically but mentally too. I mean, college football is so much different than high school football.
Yeah.
There are checks, there are adjustments, there's alignments. There's run fits, there's pass fits. There's so many things that you have to do as a linebacker. There's calls that you have to make. You have to get the front set, you have to get the pressure set, you have to get the coverage set. So it's not easy, but and that's kind of our jobs as coaches. And I think me and Coach Chapman have been able to find a package for Aubrey where now he can get on the field all the time, and also just working him in to game situations. I fully believe that. Like there is no substitute for experience. And so sometimes as a young player, like you just have to get out there and do it. And you have to screw it up and then fix it and learn from it. And then if you can keep doing that and getting 10 snaps, 15 snaps, whatever it is, week by week, middle of the season, back half of the season, now all of a sudden, you got 100 snaps under your belt, and you're probably playing some pretty good ball.
You bet. Yeah, you don't know what you don't know until you know it,
That's
right?
I mean, That's right.
Lastly here, quick comment about the offense you're going to face on Saturday with Arizona State.
Yeah. I mean, they're a good offense. They have a dynamic quarterback who can run the ball. He can escape pressure. He can make you pay if you're not prepared for that. He has a big arm too. Okay, he can throw the deep ball well. You're probably going to get a lot of RPO and play action. That's his strength. They do a really good job in the run game too. They'll mix up formations and they'll mix up the run scheme. So you'll get a variety of different run scheme. Different than other weeks that we placed. Some teams are pretty simplistic in that regard. They'll run 2 or 3 plays. These guys do a good job of mixing that up. Obviously, as Coach Sanford had said, there's they could get back to more of the head coach's roots and what he's done in the past, which we'll be prepared for.
So be a lot of adjusting, is what you're saying.
Yeah, but that's football. That's
Yeah.
college football. I mean, you always have to adjust, and ultimately at the end of the day, they can come out and do whatever. They could do anything, right?
Right.
That's our job as coaches to be ready to adjust for that. And for the last couple of weeks, we've actually done a pretty good job of that, of being able to make not even like halftime adjustments, but like in between series adjustments. And that again is credit to the kids. They'll come to the sideline and whatever we need to get done, they can handle it.
Well, he was a very good player for the Buffaloes, becoming a very good coach for Colorado. Jeff Smart, thanks for being
here.
here.
No, thank you.
Linebackers coach Jeff Smart as the Buffs will take on Arizona State. The aforementioned Josh Chandler-Samito is going to join us next for our player segment. After a quick break, this is Colorado football from Learfield. Back one final time here on Buffs Primetime with the Post Chicken and Beer, downtown Boulder. We're joining us now for our player segment, Josh Chandler-Samito. Boy, walks in. Yeah, give him a round of applause. He's been outstanding for the Buffs this year. He's flying the flag, the McKinley Bulldog sweatshirt on. He got the high school sweatshirt on.
Yes, sir.
They play some football in Ohio, don't they?
Oh, of course.
Yeah. And he walks up here, the proud father. We saw the photos in the video, the 7-month-old little girl. Tell us about her, man. When you started talking about it, you just lit up.
Yeah.
By the way.
She's been a joy. She was born March 23rd. It was at the time I was in the portal, so I was at home. I spent a lot of time with her.
Okay.
Really just kind of thrust fatherhood on me.
Yeah.
I didn't really have my father in my life, so I learned a lot of lessons on my own. My mother helped out a lot. But it's been a journey. It's been a blessing.
Yeah.
At the same time, I get a chance to step back and actually really watch something grow. Like, I had siblings and everything like that, but to actually see my own creation grow and thrive and flourish, it's amazing.
I said to him, I said, I've got a baby girl, although she's 29 years old. I got 2 baby granddaughters. That's going to change your world right there, young man. That is going to change your world.
It's already changed.
I bet it kind of gives you purpose. Kind of gives you purpose, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does.
Yeah.
It does. It made me kind of think about things I've done in my past.
It
before.
sure it does, yeah. Right? Now it's time to start minding the P's and Q's, man. Yeah. During the bye week, you got a chance to go back and see her, right?
Yeah, I did.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it was wonderful.
Outstanding. Is she wearing buff gear too?
Yeah. She got a little something
Okay.
my mom put together for her.
All right. Any chance she's going to come out and see Dad play at some point?
Hopefully, but the weather's changing.
Yeah.
She should be about by the time the season. Hopefully she can come to senior night. She'll be about 8 months. So
I was going to say.
Probably throw a coat on her.
Not going to remember it, but at least you can tell her you were there one time when Dad was playing
Yeah.
Back in college. Hey, tell everybody how you became a Colorado Buffalo. You transferred here from West Virginia.
Shoot, so I had jumped in the portal. Didn't really know what to expect, but I felt like my time in West Virginia was pretty much over with. I enjoyed my time there. Graduated there, was able to get started on my master's degree. Had a lot of great friendships there, but I felt like it was time for the next journey of my life. So jump into the portal, have a couple conversations with different people. Got linked to Coach Durrell, Coach Smart, and Coach Smith, and really just came out on my visit and loved it.
Okay.
Like, first scenery I seen driving down 36, seeing the mountains. That view changed my whole perspective on Colorado, on Boulder. I didn't really think it was nothing out here. I'd never been west of the Mississippi.
Right.
Outside of a bowl game I played last year against Coach Sanford. But
well, what you just said, every Buffs fan in the room is shaking their head because every player that ever comes here from someplace else comes over that overlook.
Yeah.
And you look down and there's Boulder and the Flatirons.
It's completely different.
And you go like, what? And it's a whole new world, isn't it?
Yeah, it looked like a movie backdrop. Like,
there you go. Yes.
It's still fake to me to this day.
And now
like
every Saturday you get to run out there and look at it, run behind Ralphie.
Yeah, it's lovely.
Yeah.
It's lovely.
Yeah, you've done a wonderful job for Colorado this season.
Thank you.
And you and I talked about this earlier this season. I said you come in, you got 1 year, but you come in and taking over leadership qualities on this team, being an older player and trying to help these guys through what's been a difficult time, haven't you?
Yes, I basically try to make that my role. When I first came in, I wanted to kind of take a step back because, of course, I've been in leadership positions, but this wasn't my team coming in. Yeah. I wanted to allow the leaders who were established leaders here, kind of do the things that they do. So I kind of sat back at first, like we talked about it, but I kind of just put my pieces here and there throughout the year. And then, of course, as football has gone on and more, I got the chance to play and actually show who I was. Of course, more leadership positions have been thrust on me.
Lastly, here too, you got this team's got a great opportunity on Saturday, doesn't it? To go and get a win, right?
Yes, sir.
Talk about your guys' mindset, kind of going to this ball game.
So the mindset is positive. Like we feel like we're playing a team that is in the same situation we are, but I feel like nobody's handled adversity like we have. Like Coach Sanford has been preaching that. Like we've been through pretty much everything that you could possibly go through in one season as a college football team.
You've done a great job. Good luck this weekend, all right? Go out there and get a win.
Thank you.
All right, let's hear it for Josh Chandler-Samito. He and the Buffaloes will take on Arizona State. Thanks for listening. This has been Colorado Football from Learfield.